Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. Before we get started, I just want to say that in my description box below, there will be a lot of links for resources to do what you can for the Black Lives Matter movement. There will also be some playlists of Black booktubers, many of whom have spoken about their experience being Black on BookTube. They are important messages, so make sure you utilize those links down below. Okay, so I want to do the mid-year freakout tag, and I have to be completely honest, I've read 116 books this year, and I was going through my Goodreads, and the books that I read like January through March, it does not even feel like I read them in the same year. I think we've just had so much going on this year, just so much craziness that it just feels like a separate year than where we were, you know, in the first 3 months of the year. Question 1 is best book you've read so far. That is a tough question. For that question, I'm gonna have to go with The Starless Sea by Erin Morgenstern. I read The Night Circus years and years ago, and I adored it. And so when this came out this year, I was so excited. I thought it was gorgeous. Erin Morgenstern's writing is known for being very flowery, and I love it. Like, I've never read anything like it. A lot of people say that like Laini Taylor's writing is very flowery, and while I find hers to be pretty, I feel like Erin Morgenstern's writing is like Laini Taylor 1,000 times amped up, and I think it's beautiful. The story has a lot to do with fate, and because of the like point behind the story, I think each person reads it and the things that happen in the book mean something different for everyone, and it's just so beautiful. It's so beautifully written, and I think it's just probably the best book I've read so far. All right, next is the best sequel. For that, I'm gonna go with Crooked Kingdom by Leigh Bardugo. This is the second book in the Six of Crows duology, which I read Six of Crows this year as well. I originally gave Six of Crows 4 stars. I bumped it up to 5, and I gave this one 5 as well. I didn't really read a lot of sequels. I read a lot of like romance sequels, but those are generally standalones. You can read like the 5th one in the series and it not be a big deal. So I don't really consider those sequels all that much. But I loved Crooked Kingdom. I think I liked it a lot more than Six of Crows, because Six of Crows has like this middle section that I just felt like really dragged on, and Crooked Kingdom was just action the entire time, and I teared up just a smidgen, which is very unusual for me. I don't really get super emotional, but I teared up. So a new release I haven't read yet, and this would be The Mermaid, the Witch, and the Sea. I actually do have this book. It came out in, I believe, May of this year, and from what I've gathered, it's essentially like a pirate story. I think it's an orphan and maybe like a princess or something like that, and they both become pirates on the ship, and the cover is gorgeous. My biggest disappointment would definitely be Strange the Dreamer by Laini Taylor. This is the first book I read by Laini Taylor, and I 100% went into this book thinking that it was going to be 5 stars, that I was going to love it. The book is basically about a librarian that goes on this adventure to find this hidden world, and I went through a period in my life where I watched Atlantis, the animated movie, like every single day. So I thought this was gonna be great. I heard nothing but great things about Laini Taylor's writing, and it really fell flat for me. I just found it very boring. I enjoy character-driven stories. I didn't really find this to be character-driven. I didn't feel like our characters were really changing all of that much. Our two main characters, their personalities were basically remaining stagnant. They weren't changing, their views weren't changing. So people around them were the ones that were sort of changing. It fell super flat for me. I don't know if it was because of my expectations were too high. I'm not really sure, but it just did not do it for me, unfortunately. Biggest surprise. And for this, I'm gonna have to go with My Dark Vanessa. I knew that this book was going to be tough. It is essentially the story of a girl who was groomed and abused by her teacher when she was 15 years old. And when she is an adult, there are allegations brought up against him, and one of the survivors thinks that our main character should come forward with her story as well. And she has to come to terms with the fact that maybe this relationship that she felt like was love her whole life isn't really what she thought it was. And it's incredibly emotional. And I knew that it was going to be tough to read, but it really hit me in ways that I was not expecting. There were a lot of scenes where I was so physically uncomfortable reading that I would curl into a ball, and I felt so bad for her, and I just wanted to scoop her up and take her out of that situation. And I thought about it for weeks afterwards. I couldn't read really anything else. Like, it put me in the biggest slump. I didn't want to read any romances. Like, I recommended it to everyone I talked to. It was so impactful, and it just left me with this, I still think about it today. Like, sometimes it'll pop into my head. It's just so, the feelings that it leaves you with just feel so heavy, and I was not expecting it to be like that. I don't know what I was expecting it to be like, but it was not at all what I was expecting. So next is my favorite new author, either a debut author or a new to me author. And for this, I actually have two. So one of them is going to be Penelope Douglas. She is a romance writer. She has written a lot of very popular romance books. She is really kind of the first author that I got into in the romance genre. This year I read Credence, Birthday Girl, Punk 57, and Corrupt, which is the first book in her Devil's Night series, and I loved every single one of them. I think she has a fantastic writing style. I think she writes predominantly dark romances, and they are just like, they hit you in the gut, and they're just so good. And I can confidently say that she is one of my favorites, and I will probably read everything she's ever put out and anything she ever puts out going forward. And then my second one is actually going to be Jessica Townsend, who writes the Nevermore series. This is a middle grade series that I actually discovered this year, and the third one should be coming out soon. It tells the story of Morgan. This is not a book review, but she has very whimsical writing, and her writing can just make you feel so happy, and you're like engrossed in this world the whole time. And her writing style is fantastic, and I cannot wait to read more from her. I'm not sure if she has anything else besides the Nevermore and Wondersmith, but I'm going to definitely read the third one when it comes out. I think it comes out in August. I will read whatever else she puts out. Newest fictional crush. Usually I'll root for like the couple. My newest favorite like love interest, I guess, was Waylon Gray from Beasts of Extraordinary Circumstance. This is essentially the story of Waylon Gray, but it's told from people's points of view around him, and he has magical abilities. He was essentially like orphaned when he was young, and he was raised by wolves, and he has like this innate ability with just nature in general, animals, weather, whatever it may be. And he's just such an interesting character. And the entire time I was reading the book, I read it in like 1.5 sittings. Like, I was so invested in the story and in the stories of him. I just wanted to know more. I wanted to know more about his abilities. I wanted to know about his thoughts, because it seemed like he didn't know that it was him this whole time, or he didn't want to believe it was him. And he had like this weird, like dual-sided thought process of like wanting to be with one of the main characters, but also wanting to be in nature. And his character just like fascinated me the whole time, and I would love to know more about him. And I loved his relationship with Mary, and I love the ending to that book. It was just so great. So my newest favorite character, Jude from The Cruel Prince by Holly Black. This is the story of Jude, who is a human. She gets taken when she is younger to the fairy world, and she kind of has to fight for her place. To me, Jude was the definition of what I want every protagonist to be. She was unapologetically strong. She was fearless. She wanted to handle everything herself. She was actually strong. She wasn't like fake strong like you see a lot of the times. The romance in the series was really peddled very hard as like an enemies to lovers situation. And to me, I didn't really feel like there was a whole lot of romance. There was, but Cardan was such a minor role in the series that I think it does a disservice to Jude and to the series to peddle this as like a romance, because it's really not. It's really about Jude just being a badass and like beating everyone up and doing what she needs to do to survive and get what she wants. And I think she was just an amazing, amazing character. A book that made me cry, and I actually don't have a book that I cried at this year. And by cry, I mean like tears falling down my face. I definitely teared up at some. My Dark Vanessa definitely made me feel like I wanted to cry, and Crooked Kingdom definitely made me tear up, but no actual tears fell from any books that I read this year, which isn't bad because the majority of the books that I read this year, like romance books, want to be like sobbing your head off at those. That's kind of not the point. So a book that made me happy. For this, I'm gonna have to go with Chain of Gold by Cassandra Clare. This came out this year. It follows the children of the Infernal Devices characters. The entire time I was reading it, I was just smiling. I was so happy. I was so giddy to be reading it. I didn't want it to be over. I wanted to reread it immediately. Just over the months, I've been like, I really want to reread that book, and almost picked it up like 50,000 times. I love Cassandra Clare's writing, and I'm going to put that vlog in the cards above and down in my description bar, because I go into depth about my feelings on Cassandra Clare and why I love her Shadowhunter Chronicles so much. But they really hold a special place in my heart. I went years of my life when I graduated high school where all I did was reread her series over and over and over again, and the only new books that I read were books that she was putting out in the Shadowhunter Chronicles. So I just have a special place in my heart for that series, and they just make me happy to read. So the most beautiful book I have bought or received, this is a very hard question to answer. Not hard, but I just have a lot of answer. I don't really care about the looks of books. Like, I'll buy mass market paperback, I'll buy whatever I want. I just have a lot of pretty books that I got this year. So my first one that I think is gorgeous is The Starless Sea. I really love the Waterstones edition the most, but I think this edition is gorgeous, and the Naked book is gorgeous. So it has the bee, key, and sword, and the inside is like this, and it's just a gorgeous book. The spine is gorgeous. It's just a really pretty, really pretty book. There are definitely prettier editions. I definitely like this one. I also really like Chain of Gold. So I think Chain of Gold is gorgeous. I really love the detailing in the back. You can see kind of London, and I love the detailing in her hair. I love all the leaves and stuff. And this one is also really pretty. There are several like pretty editions. There is the art in the front, and I think this is just a gorgeous cover as well. They just did a fantastic job. The the Wicked King and the Queen of Nothing are also gorgeous. The camera's not picking it up, but like it has like this foiling on it almost that is just really gorgeous. I think I like the Wicked King more, but I mean, compared to Cruel Prince, like they really did Cruel Prince dirty. Like if you look really close, it's pretty, but these are just absolutely stunning. I love them. And then I think the last cover that I got, the last book that I got this year that I absolutely love is The Guinevere Deception by Kirsten White. It has like this silver foiling, and I love like the sea green background and the detailing right here and the detailing across the bottom. I just think it's a gorgeous cover. And then the last question is, what books do I need to read this year? And there are quite many. So I need to read Drown. This is basically a dark retelling of The Little Mermaid. I need to read Olivia Dade, any of her 2 books, and then she has a 3rd one coming out. She writes plus size main characters, which I'm so stoked for because I don't think I've read a romance where stick thin girl, which there's nothing wrong with that, but there are other body types, and I would like to see other body types. I would also like to read Slay by Brittany Morris. I'm a huge gamer. I play a lot of video games when I'm not reading. And what I've heard is this is like a video game created by a high school girl. I want to also read Be Without Haste by B. Love. She is quickly becoming one of my favorite romance writers. And then I also want to read The Kingmaker by Kennedy Ryan. I have a lot of new romance writers that I really want to get into. I really only started my journey with reading romance this year. I have loved every minute of my journey, and I'm stoked to find some more authors. But yeah, that is my mid-year freakout tag. I can't believe that I've read as much as I have. I really attribute that to working from home. I mean, I hope that I can read 116 more books this year for the rest of the year and find some great authors, and I'm stoked. So I would love to see you guys do this tag as well. So comment down below if you guys have done this tag. I love watching them, and make sure you check out those resources that I have down in my description bar, and I will see you guys in my next video. Thanks so much.